All right, so what was the first lesson I learned? I'm going to take you back to 68, 69. Now, I know what you sitting out here are thinking, 68, 69? That's like ESPN Classics, right? When they wore those short basketball shorts. No, it's that era, all right? And as Leonard said, I decided, you know, I came from a single parent household, grew up in the projects, and I needed a little money because I was tired of wearing the same pair of jeans all year and the same pair of Chuck Taylor Converse sneakers, which I know are all fashionable today, but they started back in those days. And so I strolled around the neighborhood, and lo and behold, I did get a job at a gas station. And I'll never forget, John was the manager, and he said, sure, I'll hire you, 50 cents an hour. Now I'm thinking, that's a lot of money. Now I know what you're thinking, it's not a lot of money. 50 cents an hour was more money than I thought I could ever make in my life. And I was pretty fired up. So John says, let me show you to your office. Now I'm feeling really good. My office. I'm like 14 years old. He brings me over to the side of the gas station, he opens the door, and it's the bathroom. And he says to me, your job is to clean these bathrooms and make them spick and span for 50 cents an hour. Now, have you been in a bathroom in a gas station? Not exactly the start I had in mind. And so I sort of looked at him and I said, are you crazy? I said, this is not a job. I want to work out front somewhere. I want to pump gas. I want to be a mechanic. I want to live the dream. And he said, is that how you think it works? You think you just start at the top? You got to show me something, man. And I tell you, I went back and I said, well, let me think about it. And he said, don't think too long, because there's somebody else behind you that wants that job. And so I went back, went home, spoke to my mom, who thought it was great that I was going to go do something. And she said to me, you go back there and you finish what you started. Now, I know that sounds like a real cliche to all of you, but I will tell you something. In the 35 years that I've been at Deloitte, the very first thing that distinguishes people is people who can finish. People who finish. Finishing is hard. You finished. But I want you to think of all the things in your life up to this point that you started and decided not to finish. Exercise, diets, you pick it, because finishing is hard. And let me tell you what the benefit was. So I went back and I said, you know what? I'm going to have to become the greatest bathroom cleaner in the history of ExxonMobil to get to the front. And let me tell you, every day, and I can still smell it, okay? I still resonates with me a little bit. But every day, I went in there, and after about 3 weeks, he put me out front. And I was pumping gas, and I was on my way. And it's then, as Leonard talked about, that this giant, beautiful white Eldorado strolled in, and I put some gas in it. The guy got out, walked inside the office. I don't know what he did, actually. I knew his name was Morty. He lived in Larchmont, New York, which is a suburb of New York. And what I know is he did a lot of stuff with numbers and calculators, and these were adding machines in those days. There was no calculator, by the way. And in about an hour or two, he got $50. And I thought, wow, $50. What does that guy do, man? And John said, oh, he's an accountant, okay? And I said, that's what I'm going to become, an accountant, okay? And I did that because I saw that as a way out. So lesson one, finish. Really, really finish. And number two, all great things in life are accomplished by people who have passion. So whatever it is you do, you decide, but you got to do it with passion. That'll be the next thing that distinguishes you. Right now, today, I can assure you that in my iPhone, which is on my hip, turned off, I probably have 200 messages already. Clients, partners, staff, community organizers, but it doesn't matter because right now what matters to me is speaking to you. Passion. All right, next story. Summer of 1977. I'm getting a little closer to generations you can relate to, right? Closer. I didn't say closer. 77. Now, what's famous in 1977 for anybody who's from New York? You'll know the summer of 1977 was what they labeled the Bronx is burning. And the Bronx is burning had two elements to it. The blackout, the second major blackout occurred in New York City. and there was a person running around called the Son of Sam who was shooting young couples. And so there was a lot of anxiety in the city, and then the lights went out. And for those of you who've never been in a blackout of that proportion, and I've lived through all three in New York, it is quite an interesting dimension that occurs. But what was special about that blackout? That blackout happened at night, and through that blackout, there was about $300 million of looting done between the Bronx and Brooklyn. So what's the story? Well, I had graduated from the gas station to the body shop. I used to install 8-tracks and cassettes into cars and electric antennas. And for all of you who have never seen an electric antenna, it's a beautiful sight. Up and down. Turn that car, thing went up. It was spectacular. Okay? And now it's all in the window. You don't even see the antennas anymore. But that's what I did. And I was moving up. It was the summer between my junior and senior years. I was still trying to become an accountant, but I wasn't convinced that's what I was going to be. I wasn't. So I went back. I always went back and I worked. And so the guy who owned the body shop, Eddie, said to me, you know, there's going to be a lot of looting going on tonight. I want you to sit out front and just imagine sort of a bay door, and they were lined up in that neighborhood. It was Bruckner Boulevard. Anybody who's read the book Bonfire of the Vanities by Tom Wolfe, it's where that accident took place. That's the South Bronx. And so right there, sit there, and make sure nobody loots our shop. At the time, I thought that was a relatively easy assignment. Started a fire. He needed a fire because it was pitch black. And I just sat out front, and then the cars started showing up. And they would put big tires on the front of the cars to ram the garage bay doors, to knock them down and to loot. The police allowed that to occur. They were overwhelmed. There was an auto dealer down the block, and they stole every car on that lot. And I was sitting. And finally, they got to our door, right in front. They got out, asked me, not as politely as I'm explaining, to move out of the way. And a thought occurred to me that Eddie had paid me $20 to guard that door, right then and there. And I had a decision to make. Either I was going to fulfill that obligation, no matter what the outcome was, or I was going to become one of them and let them do it. And I thought about it really hard. And something occurred to me that if I let them do it, at least without an attempt, I would be one of them. And one of them were all the people I grew up with in my neighborhood. These weren't total strangers. So they came up to me. They used to call me Etch in those days, E-C-H-E. Etch, get out of the way. And I remember looking at them and said, no. And I also remember trembling, thinking I was going to get the crap kicked out of me by these guys, man. And I said to myself, this is it. This is going to define who you are. And so guess what? I got the crap kicked out of me, man. But I earned their respect, and they said, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Remember something. It's the choices that define you. You are not defined by anything else. No labels, no starting points, choices. I was defined that day. Story number 3, and the last one I'll share with you, so that's the next pearl. Now I get this fantastic job at this great company called Deloitte. I'm making about $11,000 a year, which is quite a leap from 50 cents an hour. I'm rolling at about $5 an hour now, and I'm feeling damn good. Okay? It's big money in those days. It's 1978. And I spent the first 3 months of my life making coffee and getting mail, literally. For those up there in the audience, you might remember the Joe DiMaggio coffee makers that first came out. This is before there's a Starbucks and all those places, okay? And I remember me and the person that I started with, who's also a partner in the firm today. We were at a bar, and I started in the Miami office. We were in a bar called La Floridita. It was downtown. It was sort of in the basement, and we were drinking green grenades. That was our word for Heinekens in the day. They had just come out. Yes, Heinekens had just come out, okay? I know what you're thinking. What's a Heineken? Okay? But Heinekens had just come out, and I remember that we were lamenting the fact. We sat there drinking these green grenades, and we were saying, God, what a miserable existence we have. We went to college, graduated with diplomas. Now, I got one from the U. My buddy got one from that swamp up in the middle of the state, which will go nameless. Just for the record. And by the way, he works for me now. all about the you, baby. Just remember that. And we were sitting there, and he was lamenting coffee making, and this is terrible. What an existence. This is what we went to school for. And the thought occurred to me. And I said, but wait a minute, just look at the positive here. And he goes, what positives could there possibly be to this? I go, well, just imagine. They're paying us $11,000 a year to make coffee, man. Imagine when we do something that matters, we're going to make a boatload of money, okay? And the light bulb went off. You got to do things with a positive attitude. You watch. When you get out to wherever you go, whether it's to go to get an advanced degree, go back to in sort of community activity, or go in the corporate world, attitude. Attitude makes a big difference. If you're feeling good, tell your face sometimes, because it's not always the same. I walk up to people all the time. I look at, how you doing? They look like the world just ended. So I'm fine. You think I want to be around that person? I'm going to run away as fast as I can. On the flip side, when people come up to me and say, how you doing? I say, great. Really? Why? Why not? I got a job. I got health. What's there not to be great about? Sure, can things be better? But be positive, because we have an awful lot to be thankful for. Positive. Finishing. Passion. Choices. Positive. Those things really matter.